Assalamu alaikum everybody. In this video we are going to start part 1 of learning Surah Ad-duha, and in this part inshallah we are going to understand, reflect on and try to live the first two ayat of the surah, which are وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. But before we do this, I want you please to take a few minutes to answer the questions on the first page of your PDF booklet. You can pause the video while doing so and play it back when you are done. Okay, the questions were about whether you have ever felt sad or have gone through difficult times, and what you usually think of and do during these times. And I'm sure that all of us have gone through some hard experiences that make us feel sad, worried, scared, or maybe depressed. As we go through these experiences, usually unpleasant thoughts occupy our minds. I start thinking that I'm a bad person. Why is this happening to me? What wrong did I do? Is Allah punishing me? I know things are going to get worse, and so on. Well, the first thing we need to know about Surah Ad-duha is that this surah came down when our Prophet ﷺ was going through a very hard time and was feeling really sad. This was at the very beginning of the message of the Prophet. As we know, revelation started coming to the Prophet when he became 40. However, after a few surahs came down, the revelation was discontinued. It stopped for days, and some scholars said it stopped for a month. The Prophet ﷺ waited and waited, but no ayat were coming down. So he felt so sad. Of course, the disbelievers started making the situation worse by telling him, "Your Lord said goodbye to you, abandoned you, and your Lord is displeased with you." Now, this is important. I'm going to ask you about this. We need to remember these two things the disbelievers were saying. Number one, they said, "Your Lord has abandoned you." And number two, they said, "Your Lord is displeased with you." Okay, a question for you now. Why do you think the Prophet ﷺ was so sad? You have this question in your booklet, so you can take a few moments to think about the answer and write it down if you like. You can pause the video and then come back and watch the rest. Okay, since the Prophet was chosen by Allah to deliver Allah's message, he felt that this was a great responsibility. He felt responsibility towards human beings. If he didn't deliver the message properly, not only Quraysh, but all humanity will suffer. So there was an enormous amount of pressure on his shoulders, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Quran tells us about this, that when people don't accept Islam, the Prophet is worried that it might be him and his efforts, and Allah consoles him. So when the revelation was discontinued and Quraysh started making fun of the Prophet by telling him, "Your Lord is displeased with you," the Prophet started worrying that they might be right and Allah is displeased with him, and that's why there were no ayat sent to him anymore. And as he was going through this hard experience with all the sadness and worry in it, Allah revealed Surah Ad-duha, a whole surah, to tell him and us what to do when facing hard times, negative thoughts, and bad feelings. That's why I call this course Managing Hard Times, because this is the general message of the surah as I have learned it. The first two ayat of the surah answer the question why we sometimes go through hard experiences. And the rest of the surah gives us 3 practical steps that we should do during these times that can make a huge difference in dealing with our worry, sadness, and fear. So let's begin with the first two ayat. وَالضُّحَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. 3 phrases we need to know their meanings here. الضُّحَى, الليل, إِذَا سَجَى. And you can use your booklet here, by the way. Ad-duha means the time of the day when the light of the sun is soothing. Al-layl means the night. إِذَا سَجَى means when it's still, the night is still and lifeless. Okay, what about wa? The ayah says وَالضُّحَى, not ad-duha. وَاللَّيْلِ. So there is a wa before ad-duha and before al-layl. Wa is a letter for swearing, for making an oath. So Allah begins the surah by making a couple of oaths. He is swearing by what? By Ad-duha, the time when the light of the sun is soothing, and Al-layl إذا سجى, the night when it's still, lifeless, and it's cutting off. Okay, why oaths? Actually, the oath in the Quran is made for a purpose. It's a means by which we are asked to reflect, to think about what Allah is swearing by, and connects it to what comes after it. So the oath prepares us for what is coming next. Can we do this? Okay, since Allah is swearing by Ad-duha and the layl إذا سجى, let's think about these 2 times of the day. Ad-duha is the time from sunrise until like before noon. It's the time when people are busy, active, hustle and bustle, moving. It's full of life. The sun can be soothing, intense, and wonderful. What about al-layl, the night? But Allah didn't say, He didn't swear by the night. He swears by the night when it's still, lifeless, and it's cutting off. He says, وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى. Al-layl, the night when it's still, when there is no life. Have you noticed something? Have you noticed that the 2 times Allah is swearing by are opposites? They represent different situations, just like the different situations a person may face in his or her life, and just like the different situations the Prophet has gone through. So Ad-duha is representing the time when the revelation comes to the Prophet ﷺ. It's the soothing light of the sun, full of life, coming to him. The soothing light represents the light of the revelation and the brilliance in it. This revelation is the light, and the world without it is in darkness. So Ad-duha represents the time when the Prophet was happy with receiving Allah's words. And the other time, which is al-layl إذا سجى, the night with its stillness and its cutting off, represents the time when the Prophet ﷺ was sad because of the discontinuation of the revelation, because the ayat stopped coming down to human beings. Okay, another question for you. Do you think that we need our day to be duha all the time, or do we need our day to be night all the time? What do you think? Yes, of course. Both times are necessary for the life of the human beings. Both times are important from a psychological point of view on the human growth and health. These 2 times are the opposites, and Allah chose them because they show different situations that a person faces in his or her life. Sometimes life is easy, sometimes it's difficult. In life there is ease and difficulty, sadness and happiness, pressure and relaxation. Going through hard times is part of life, and we have to go through it because there are some good qualities in ourselves that we never get to harness them and develop them until we get into difficulty. Both situations have a role to play, and both times are described, subhanallah, with soft words to show Allah's love and care. Because even during hard times, Allah is with us, and He is the most loving and caring. So what's the take-home message from the first 2 ayat? We need to understand that both happiness and sadness are necessary for us, just like the light of the sun and the quietness of the night are necessary for us and for our growth. Okay, what are we going to do now? Each one of us is going to think of a difficulty she went through that was necessary for her to grow, or to learn something, or to acquire a beautiful quality. I left a space for you in your booklet so you can write this experience if you like. And I'll see you guys in part 2, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.